Welcome everyone to the Appy Hour. We are glad that you are here. We're going to have a great conversation today about forecasting versus budgets and why forecasting is the best advisory service. And we have a special guest here with us today. And so she is here with us and she is going to be teaching us about LivePlan. And so we're very, very grateful to have Kathy with us. So we're going to get to have a chance to introduce her officially, but this is going to be a very, very powerful conversation. So let me go ahead and say, Heather, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Heather Satterlee. I am the owner of Satterlee Training and Consulting and Satterlee Accounting Services. And I work with small to mid-sized businesses, helping them to find balance in their business through bookkeeping, tax services, advisory, and with advisory, we do a lot of advisory. We do strategic planning, of course, but we also do a lot of technology advisory. So lots of fun stuff.
And I'm Liz Scott. For those of you who don't know me, most of you are my friends, so I want to say hello again. But what we do is we focus on businesses that are in the QuickBooks ecosystem. So they got QuickBooks and other stuff going on. And so that's exactly who is our jam. We work with them to make sure that they're doing well and that their business is healthy. My favorite part is doing coaching with them. And so anytime that I'm able to see an opportunity for growth, that's where I get excited. And like many of you, my clients, the thoughts about them keep me up at night. And it's what gets me going in the morning. So I love what I do. I'm thankful for this opportunity to be able to have this position that I have. And I enjoy sharing what I've learned along the way. And I had somebody today say to me that they had made a mistake. And I said, oh my gosh, you know what? I mean, I think that mistakes are those things that you have to learn along the way. Oops, I just wanted to not show that, but I was going to bring up the quote. But the thing that I was going to show is the mistakes along the way are happening because you are making progress. You are moving forward. And so I had a really good quote, but that was not the thing that popped up. So I'm going to go ahead and give Kathy an opportunity to say hello.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here today. It's my pleasure to be here. This is my favorite subject. I do work at LivePlan, but I don't do forecasting because I work at LivePlan. I actually work at LivePlan because my entire career has been financial modeling and forecasting for various types of organizations, small to mid-size, public, private. I took a hiatus from work about, gosh, at this point, 15 years ago to have my child, was able to take some time. And when I came back, I found this lovely company, Palo Alto Software, with an app that does what I did for my entire career. So it's been my pleasure to be here and work with accountants specifically, and other advisors who are trying to find elegant ways to help their small businesses do forecasting and use that as an advisory service in their organization.
And I would just say that any of you who have had the chance to talk to Kathy, she is just one of the most wonderful people to talk to because she's just like us with having a task list and being able to break it down and understand all of these pieces can be very complicated to be able to digest and then have some results. So she has done a lot of the creation of the training. And so we have a lot to say thank you for.
Oh, that's so nice of you. This industry, I tell you what, you all are the nicest people. I don't come from public accounting or any kind of accounting. I did this forecasting my career. But I worked side by side accountants, so industry accountants, right? And they're in companies. And I kind of thought I knew what accountants were, but I never was exposed to the world of public accounting and accountants at large who are doing this. And you all are just, gosh, you're the nicest people. So it's been my pleasure to get to know you. And it's been my pleasure to bring something that I hope is useful. Because part of the other thing I did in my past, in my background that I brought to this is business process design. And I was fortunate enough to work in engineering companies that did a lot of business process and workflow, because they had to reduce waste and the things they were building. And it was all about productization. So just like thinking about everything you do in your company is turning out a product. So I brought that, the forecasting plus well, how do we think of this forecasting and advising as a product? It is a product. And how can we think about it as a product and offer it as such? Well, it takes some organization and some task lists to do that.
I was hoping that you would share your background and this engineering brain that you have, because you do piece things together. And whenever you start looking at the books, you have to start thinking about the way that you break it down, and you have to tell the story. Well, that's exactly what you've done with strategic advisories. You've told a story and you've broken it down into bite-sized pieces to be able to give us a guide on how to do it. So thank you. And I'm going to quit talking because there's so much here to see and learn that I'm excited. So we want to say thank you to our champagne level sponsor, ADP. We had a wonderful accountant summit. Many of you joined us for that. We had a record amount of people who were there. So Magic Johnson was one of the special guests at that event, and Heather and I had the amazing opportunity to be able to close that event, to be able to be the after party, and there was a lot of fun and prizes. Heather's got your basketball right behind you.
I do. I have this amazing signed Magic Johnson game ball, which ADP sent as a thank you to us for hosting that party. So there was such great content. We had Darren Root, we had Magic Johnson speaking. There was just so many great speakers. Tom Hood. It was really, really, really interesting. I enjoyed all the sessions.
I agree. It was very nice. And then we also want to say thank you to LivePlan for making this episode possible. And so business planning, cash forecasting, that is going to be a key part of what our conversation is going to be about today. So financial performance tracking is for small business and startups. So how do you begin? So our agenda today is going to begin right there. We're going to be talking about what is the difference between forecasting and budgets. We're going to have a toast. And then at that point, we're going to really let Kathy take it away from there. And then we'll tell you what's coming up next. So the best place to begin is to start with what exactly is a budget? And this is where I would say a lot of us are helping our clients with budgets. And so it's possible that we're using some of the tools that we have for budgeting. And so Heather, what are you doing with your clients for budgets?
So my not-for-profit clients, we have to do a budget, right? So that's part of their being, the stewards of their organization is that you set up an operating budget and program budgets. So basically, we are very active in helping our clients to create those budgets by providing, the accurate financials that they can base on, and also meeting with the team to kind of talk about what their mission is, what their goals are for the next year. As far as our for-profit clients, most of our clients use budgets. Some haven't quite gotten there yet, so we're working on it. But really with budgeting, you're talking about, it's an annual process, right? It's something that you're looking at usually you start thinking about your budget about 4 months, I would say 4 to 6 months, before the next fiscal year. It really depends on the organization, and you're really saying, what are our goals? You're looking forward to say, what are our goals? What do we think is going to happen? What do we want to happen within our organization? So once you set the budget, typically doesn't change, right? You set the budget, you set the spending budget, and you're basically tracking against that throughout the year, right? Yeah.
And the thing that I tried to do with my clients, so the only piece that I would throw in there is that with our clients, when we think about budgets, we think about, let's plan for the rainy day. So what's the least amount of money that you could live with? So that way, if something was to happen, how could you survive? So that is one of the things that we think about whenever we're creating budgets. So being able to say, if you have a great month, good, but who could have predicted this pandemic? And so being able to say, having a set amount of money, knowing that for operations expenses, here's what you needed to survive, to just keep the lights on, or maybe to pay the rent. So that's one of the things that we think about with budgets. And then I'm going to move over to forecast, because this is another piece of it. So Heather, do you have thoughts about forecasting?
Sure. So forecasting, forecasting as we look at it with our clients, and really what it is it's, as it says here, a living plan, right? Hence the name LivePlan, right? So basically, it's taking the financial model, taking all of the circumstances that are happening, in the company's environment, their financial environment, and all of the, what's going on, and then giving them guidance to make the right decisions going forward strategically in their business. So it's looking at what's happening based on what we know about today and what we think is going to happen in the future. And that is a moving target, right? So, I have clients that, they set a budget and they say we're working on a budget, but actually what they're looking for is that forecast. They're looking for something that's going to project out, over 6 weeks, all the way up to like 3 months, right? Where they're actually looking forward, and they're reacting. The forecast can react to changes that are happening to the company. And really it's to find out, how much cash do we expect to have in a certain period of time? Do we think we're going to have enough money to hire that new person, right? What's happening like right now with all of these auto manufacturers, right? They're scrambling to get those, what are they, Liz? The word is now,
the driving yourself vehicles?
No. They're, oh my gosh, I can't. Somebody throw it in the chat. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. Yes, thank you. The semiconductor chips. I'm like, where are they? So all of these auto manufacturers are struggling, and they're having to go back and look at their forecasting, because all of a sudden with the pandemic, like you said, things changed, and they need to figure out their strategy to get through this period. What are they going to do? How are they going to handle that? And that all comes back to forecasting out what they expect their revenues to be, what they expect their expenses to be. So that has to be flexible, right? Because
I agree. And whenever I'm thinking about forecasting with a client, this is where the part that I start hearing the emotion come in. So part of this, whenever I'm talking to my client, they don't understand the word forecasting, but what they do understand is being able to be pivotal. What they do understand is whenever the industry changes or the cheese moves, they need to be able to move too. So sometimes you need to be able to forecast, a year out, 3 years out, 5 years out, and then pivot if needed. So that way you can say, I'm not waking up tomorrow wondering, where is the money going to come from? I can change things. I can look a different direction. That's okay. But this is whenever I start hearing, this is where they start feeling some more relaxation and getting better sleep, because they know that their business has got a life. They know that their business has got a future. And so I would almost say, Kathy, what are your thoughts about the differences here and what you think about forecasting?
You all hit the nail right on the head, and I'll just tell you a quick. I pause with story because we don't have time for a story, but I'll tell you a quick short story to illustrate it, based on work that one of our advisors is doing right now with a barbershop in town. It happens to be in our town, which is cool. We don't actually have very many LivePlan. We have some customers in town, but we're an international company. But one of our advisors happens to be working in town and is working with this barbershop that this woman chose to buy the barbershop during the pandemic in February. She chose to take it over. She's a barber. The barbershop had closed under the old owner during the pandemic. He couldn't see it through, and she had this opportunity to buy the business at an affordable price, but it was very scary. And she had her budget and her plan in 3 notebooks, paper notebooks of notes and things. But it wasn't until we set about to build a forecast that she could really make plans for. It's not just about for the year, what do you want to do? It's about in month 1, what are you doing? And in month 2 and in month 3, and then what's going to happen to your cash in month 6 when you do that? And when you change in month 4 on the fly, what happens to month 6, right? And that's what forecasting is. Dynamic. It's changing. It's not static. And this woman went from nearly giving up in March when we met her to she's now got 6 barbers on staff. She has a very good strategic plan in place to take her from here to well into next year and then beyond. But right now it's a pretty fixed 12-month plan.
Nice. Well, okay, so what you just hit on, I'm going to go ahead and advance to, because your notebook this is a step up from the notebook.
Yeah, she didn't even have that. She had so many words.
So, my mom, not to any surprise, has got a financial background too. And so one of the things that I said to her was, I was like, Mom, I really want you to come on and, as a family business, I was like, I want you to come on and I want you to help with teaching forecasting. And I want you to, and this is intentional, I said, I want you to start with Excel. And the reason is I think that the value sometimes lies in how hard is it to do something before you move over into a solution. So I wanted her to kind of walk us through her history of using Excel and pivot tables and formulas. So that way it was difficult. And, I have a good friend that she said, an Excel is only as good as the person who created it. So if you hand over your Excel workbook to somebody and they were not the one who created it, they look at it and they're like, great. And the person who created it feels like it's this wonderful piece of art. But in all actuality, it takes that person who created it to be the one who understands it. And so it's really difficult to pass on that knowledge. So we do have some solutions, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't use these. This is a free solution to us that we should be using something. And so this is a nice way to be able to get your clients started in building a budget. And if they need hands-on, this is a great way to teach them, here, put some fingers on this, and that way they understand that it can be painful to create things in a system that doesn't really have any, like you said, isn't dynamic. It doesn't allow you to pivot or change very easily at all.
Well, and it's not productized. And the minute you click in one cell and accidentally delete something, or the minute you email that to somebody, and you can build some pretty lovely models in Excel that take a million years. That's the other
right?
part. It takes so much time, and you can't be doing one-off work for every client. You have to get to a place where things are systemized.
Well, and the other thing is that if we accidentally break something, it's like everybody's got to call mom.
Your mom. It seems like me.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and advance over to here. And so, Heather, do you want to talk about this one?
I will talk about this one. So this is the budget feature in QuickBooks Online. And Trish was reminding us in the chat that QuickBooks, the budgets are only available in QuickBooks Online Plus and QuickBooks Online Advanced. So you can add a budget if you're in QBO Plus. You can add a budget if you're using QuickBooks Online Accountant and you're using your books. You can add a budget. You can add multiple budgets you can have as many budgets as you want for a year. You can subdivide your budgets by class, by location, by customer, by project. So they're pretty flexible. And And then you get, you get limited reporting. You get the budget versus actual report, and you can get a budget performance report. So the budget versus actual, you can subdivide. If you look here, I love this report. This is not how it appears when you just run it out of the box, right? If you run it out of the box, it's done by month, but you can actually make, if you go into the customized report menu, there's an option to change it by quarter or by month. A lot of people don't, or by year. A lot of people don't realize that they can do that. They think that they can only do the whole, do it by month. So you can enter in your budgets. In my opinion, it's not as robust as the budgets in QuickBooks Desktop. In QuickBooks Desktop, I felt like you could increase by percentages, you could decrease by percentages. We don't really have that functionality here in the QuickBooks budgets. It's pretty limited as far as the ability to manipulate it. But what you can do now is in QuickBooks Online Advanced, you can import your budget. So if you have a budget in QuickBooks in Excel, you can now import it into QuickBooks Online Advanced. But I think there's limitations with that too, Liz, right?
It is better. I definitely agree. So if you're interested in doing it, I would sign up for one of the webinars with QuickBooks Online Advanced, because they definitely cover it. Importing the budgets from Excel into QuickBooks Online Advanced. So, and I do like this. Again, you're starting to use a solution, so there's going to be a database there to help you drive it. So if there is a change, then you're going to see that change everywhere. So I'm a fan of using solutions. So this definitely does have some features in it that are going to be able to help you and your client plan. So this is a really good place to begin, I think.
It is a great place to begin. And I think Nancy was just saying that she thinks the limitation that we were talking about was you couldn't import by class. And I think that's right. But I think that you could, I don't think at the time, the last time I tried to do it, you could import and then change it to subdivide by class. I don't think you're able to do that. One person also asked, that I'll just answer, could you import a budget from Google Drive? Not directly, but yes, because all you'd have to do is download it in Excel format and then import it into QuickBooks Online Advanced in the Excel format. So the answer is yes, but not directly.
Yeah, I haven't even, because now you can do so much importing from Google Drive. I have not looked to see if budgets is one of those things, but you're saying no, so you know more about that than I do, Heather.
Yeah, I don't think you can. The last time I looked, there wasn't an option. While we're doing that, I'll go in and log into my test company and see if there is an option, just to double check.
Okay, well then guess what the next one is? Because we have so much good stuff that it's time to do our test.
Yay.
Yeah. So we really wanted to say thank you, that we are grateful that Kathy is here, because she's going to be walking us through how to talk about being a strategic strategic advisor to our clients and building forecasts. So thank you. And my Zoom camera, for whatever reason, decided to zoom in on me really quick. But I've got my drink here. So we want to say cheers.
Cheers.
And then I'm going to stop presenting, so that way I can pass it over to Kathy and you can start presenting.
Great. I think I got it. No. Yeah. Tell me when that works.
Yes, we are seeing your screen.
You are? Okay, great. I don't see what you see, but I'm going to trust you that you see my screen.
Yes, we see it.
Great. This is a perfect transition, and thank you so much. It's 1:30 where I am, and while I would love to just be drinking an entire glass of champagne, I feel that I might not give this subject justice if I downed the whole glass of champagne. So I'm going to live vicariously through you and let you do that while I speak. So what is forecasting versus budgeting? And I think, Liz and Heather already covered that so beautifully, but what I do want to get into is, why does forecasting make the best advisory service? Because it really, really does. And there's so many other great services that are necessary for client advisory too, that you should, of course, consider for what fits in your firm. And I love the mention of ADP. I know that they're carving out, you all probably know way more about this than I do. I just know that they're carving out an HR advisory, I don't know if it's a program, but it's certainly a teaching. I saw a mention of it yesterday, I think on social, that they are teaching people how to do HR advisory with ADP. So that's lovely. So there's so many of these advisory services you can offer. You can determine how to monetize this the right way and then offer it to your clients. So I want to share with you just a little bit of data at the beginning, because our business has been around for as long as it has, going on almost 40 years now, serving small businesses and the advisors who serve them. We are able every year to survey the small businesses in our ecosystem and ask them some questions. And of course, last year, we do this in the fall, every year at the end of the fall. And then we take some time to look at the data. And then usually by January or February, we've got some published information. And so last year, of course, was a very unique year to be doing this. And so this first is, what are the challenges small business owners face during the pandemic? We wanted to know where forecasting fit with the other things. If we asked you, or them, meaning, of course, sales were probably a problem. We knew that would be the case. But what if we said supply chain and team morale and these other things that we knew were going on in the pandemic, but we also included forecasting in there? Where would that rank in terms? And you can see where it ranks. There is a clear need for this with small business owners. This is a, if I didn't make it clear, this survey going to small business owners in our ecosystem, and they're small business owners who self-reported at being 1 year or more in business. So this isn't entrepreneurs, this is 1 year or more in business. So then we say, okay, well, what percent of the small business owners in the survey made changes to their products or services during the pandemic? What percentage had their cheese moved on them? And they followed the cheese and went to the new place and decided they needed to change their products or services. 75% reporting that they did. So you can imagine what that means when they do that they need now new forecasting on these new products or services. You can't just continue to operate with your same financial information. So then we ask them, okay, what services do you want from advisors when you're looking? And again, remember, this is late last year. We ask this every year though, and we get back similar results. This year, we wanted to isolate the forecasting. In the past, we've said, I think, strategic planning and forecasting, maybe we've included that. But this time we wanted to really hit just the forecasting. And if we separate that from just cash flow, what will they say? So you see 3 items. You see business model update, which has to do, with this, did they change their products or services? So how many of them want business model update help? How many of them want budgeting and forecasting help? And how many of them are thinking about just cash flow? And you can imagine, put yourself back in October of last year when the pandemic was still in full swing. This is pre-vaccines, and cash was getting tight for people. PPP was happening, but even in that time, forecasting came in at a higher number, and business model updates. So these small business owners want strategic help. They really, really do. They want and need this strategic help. So then you say, okay, great. How can I do this? What is this? What's the difference? And Liz and Heather already hit on this. This is our infographic that explains the difference between budgeting and forecasting, and really is meant to show that really a healthy business needs both. It is, both things are important. Budgeting, I'll go over just the way I see the differences. Budgets are usually tactical. You think of tactical items versus forecasts are strategic. Budgets are usually short-term versus forecasts are long-term. So budgets are usually for a year. Typically, an organization will go through a rebudgeting process maybe mid-year. If they have changes, that's pretty normal. But forecasts are for a longer period of time. They look out over 2, 3, sometimes even 5 years if you've got, depending on the size of the organization. But usually for a working forecast, 2 to 3 years is just great. That's a perfect time frame. Budgets are static and forecasts are dynamic, meaning that forecasts are meant to change. They are meant to be pushed, poked, prodded. They are meant to be questioned. They reflect the performance of the organization. And so as the performance changes, the forecast is meant to be adjusted. They really are a working model of the forecast. And then the last bullet there is that it is hard with a budget to get a decent look at cash and a balance sheet. So with forecasting, when you apply modeling to it, now you can see ahead at also a cash forecast and a balance sheet look ahead. And then some other notes. Budgets are usually thought of as by line item. They're usually limits or goals to things by almost chart of account line item, whereas forecasts are grouped together more strategically. You're going to group together a whole bunch of things that reflect the business model. So yeah, forecasting is really built on a business model. What does the business sell? How does it sell it? And what are its assumptions on cash collection and things? You put these pieces in place and you really build a working model of the business, a model truly that represents the business that you can push levers on. And as you push levers on those assumptions and those things, you can see changes to the projections. And I'll show you an example of that in a minute. So that is our look at the difference between budgeting and forecasting. So great. So now you say, all right, let's get at this. Why does forecasting make the best advisory service? And I'm going to reveal in 5 bullets. In 5 bullets, I'm going to tell you why I think forecasting makes the best advisory service. And I encourage Liz and Heather to provide feedback on these as we talk about them. And they're kind of in order as you think about this. So first of all, for you, for your practice, the best advisory service is one that repeats. And that's so that you can optimize it internally and you can get to scale. You don't want to be doing one-off work, meaning custom work for every client each month. If you do that, you have to spend more time because every month reinvents itself. So you really want to get yourself into a process where you have some type of repeated work so that you can add more clients and get to this sort of humming along place. So one that repeats so you can optimize it and scale. And forecasting, just by way of the way it works, really has to be done monthly to be well. You have to address your financial forecast every month. It can be done on a quarterly basis or even every other month. That would work okay. But once a quarter would be the limit. That would really push the limit of what a forecast should do. Really, it should be looked at every month. So here we have an activity that a small business owner is asking you for, and that really needs to be done monthly. So great. So that's the first reason. The second is that each month, now you know it has to be done monthly. Each month in your forecasting life, there's actually new value that you're adding to this service for your client because there's always something new to address in that forecast. It isn't like budgeting where you have this fixed line items of things and you kind of know what they are and they don't change as much. And sure, maybe you do budget versus actual, but it isn't the same kind of conversation because you don't have the model behind it. So once you add this layer of modeling, these assumptions you're going to build, now you have a window into the performance of the organization. So every month you look at this forecast and you see opportunities, you're bringing new value to that customer every month. So that's the second reason. And now we're just building on these things. So now, as the forecast model, so now you're working every month, right? And you're bringing this new value. You're finding these new problems to solve. You're finding opportunities. As the forecast model, as you move forward every month, that forecast model gets more accurate. And it does that just simply by you doing the work. The reason is you build it once, you attend to it every month. And as you attend to it, you learn things about how you built it, about the assumptions you put into it. When you get actuals back, it's almost like a test every month of what you built. And because you're looking at it every month and you're tweaking it and nudging it, you're actually refining it. That's what you're doing. So two things are happening. You're bringing value to a customer every month because you're helping them find problems in their business, but you're also making that model better. And then guess what? You're making your life easier because your system is getting more honed in. Does that make sense? Everything's tightening, everything's becoming better, and you're bringing more value to your client. So what happens for you, because as a result of that, is that your margin grows because you're charging a fixed price, right? You're not charging by the hour. You're charging a fixed, either a subscription or a fixed fee or something like that for this monthly service. So now your margins are growing. Now you're getting to scale. You're starting to scale. And Heather and Liz, please interrupt me if you have color you want to add to this. It's a lot of my voice coming out, and I don't intend for that.
You
Oh,
know, I am
I
just,
get excited.
yeah, me too. I'm just loving this. You know what I love about this so much? I just threw it in the chat is that you're giving us the how, like, and that is so valuable to us. People tell us the what all the time, but you're telling us the how. Love it.
Yeah, well, I'm not even to the big how yet, but this is the reasons. So I got, now here's number 4. Now we're building on this. Now, each month, and I sort of alluded to this already, as you're doing all this great work, you are helping your small business owner client uncover opportunities and limitations and solve problems. You're going to help them stay nimble, be proactive versus reactive. You are quite literally going to transform their business. That's what this work is. And I'm not even exaggerating. That's what it is. So the 5th reason is that your industry truly has the power to change the economy of
Yes.
the world. Actually, you really do.
Yes.
And there you go. Like,
Okay, so all of these bullet points right here, I think I got the most excited and I could hardly contain myself whenever you got to number 3. And then you got to number 4, and then number 5 popped out, and it was like, can bullet points make me any more excited and just like more animated? I mean, it's a PowerPoint, for goodness sakes, but this is truly how we change our industry. We start telling our clients, no more write-ups. That doesn't exist anymore. That doesn't mean anything to our clients. So how do we help them? We start driving change. We start telling them what are the drivers of change. And you know, the thing that Heather and I, the reason that Happy Hour exists is because we don't know everything. We learn as we go. And so I found the quote earlier: the more successful you are, the more mistakes you will make. People who don't do anything don't make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes along the way. And these 5 bullets, we're going to make mistakes, but then we're going to get better at it.
Well, the cool thing is that a forecast is meant to be wrong in the beginning. I've done this work for years. I've never built a forecast the first time and had it be the one. It takes about 3 months to get to get the first model working good enough, and then it just evolves every month. So if you're the kind of person who loves to rethink and who grows through change, and I'm that person. I love it when I'm wrong. I love it because I just figured I just got to learn something. So yeah, this work is for you people who are like that, who love to learn new things and love to solve problems and love to dig in and find the hidden nuggets of information in places. Yeah. Oh, it spins. I didn't realize I made it spin. That's fun. Okay, so now Liz already touched on these things. So there's a few options for creating forecasts. There's spreadsheets, which Liz talked about. I spent years and years and years. I've built many, a pretty big actually financial model in Excel. Excel is my friend, I love it. But not when I have multiple clients, because you just can't get to scale. You're building something new every time. You email it to somebody, it breaks. It's a big mess. It's a headache for your staff. It's just, Excel is just, isn't it just a beautiful product, but it just isn't quite for this, not when you're trying to get to scale. So then there's naive forecasting, and that's the concept of, a lot of software uses this. It's the concept of using prior information like your payments and your receipts, for instance, to project ahead. So an app or product or even a model that you build might look to the past of actions that have been taken, dates on things, timing of things, and just apply that to a go forward model and just do that all automatically. And that's called naive forecasting. And that's okay. It's okay for short-term looks on things. You can kind of think of that almost as taking your aging and sort of scheduling it out almost automatically. And that's all right if you want, especially if you're just looking 1 or 2 months ahead, because especially you've got that aging information and it's pretty tight. But if you're wanting to look out a year, 2 years, 3 years, that's not going to do it. And then you have to think about modeling. You have to get into a mindset of that I'm going to be making some projections using my brain and my client's brain together, but I'm going to be using some modeling to build this too. I'm going to be putting the business assumptions in. And the modeling now creates a way to look way ahead, especially on cash, where you really do have to use modeling. You have to use cash assumptions about collections and payments to look way ahead on cash, and balance sheet too. And then you want to think iteratively. You want to think about a product or a workflow for yourself where you're able to come in and tend to this forecast every month, and it can true up, and you're really doing iterative work, right? Cyclical iterative forecasting. And so I'm going to show you a snapshot of LivePlan's live forecast. I'm going to do that quickly, and then I want to show you the process by which this work occurs. So my screen is going to flip, and I don't know on Zoom if I click this. Can you now see LivePlan?
Yes, we see LivePlan and we see, I think, your email.
Oh, that's not.
So I think if you scooch over your screen to full size, I think we won't see your Slack or your email. Yep.
Yeah, I guess I didn't.
Nice.
Does that work?
Yes, now we only see LivePlan.
You see LivePlan. Okay, great. So I'm going to show you quickly. This is LivePlan's forecast tab, and I'm showing you the profit and loss version. And the idea that it is this looks very much almost like the budget that we saw before. It's in the same format. It's a P&L format. But in one place, we have a P&L. We also have a balance sheet forecast, and we have a cash flow. And I'm going to go full screen on this so you can see. This is by month, so it's, that's a lot of rows, or columns rather. But this is 3 years. It goes across 3 years. In LivePlan, you can build 3 or 5 year forecasts. Those are the choices. And that's typically because a 5-year forecast is more typical for like a formal business plan where you're presenting to a lender. 5 years is pretty common. For just doing iterative work with your client in an advisory relationship on an ongoing basis, 3 years is plenty. And in fact, 2. I mean, you'd have the full 3 in LivePlan, but you probably only use 2 of it. I mean, when you want to do big looks ahead at cash, then you can roll over into the 3rd year, but really 2 to 3 years is great for this kind of work. So 3 to 5 years in LivePlan. And then the ability to be iterative, right, every time. So the way we do that is to say, we have this little button called Live Forecast that when I turn it on, it pulls in actuals from, in this case, QuickBooks Online is what we're connected to, but whichever accounting solution, either QuickBooks Desktop, Xero, or QuickBooks Online, it's going to pull my actuals over. Now it's going to true up, and I'm going to go back to full screen so that you can just see more. So now I can see the months that are in the rearview mirror of my forecast. I can actually do the side-by-side comparison right here in the forecast view. So I can have that experience here. But the other nice thing is I'm now trued up on profit and cash. So as I look across to the year 2021, for instance, you see the green light is on, so it means it's live. And now I've got a trued up version of this forecast, and also for cash. I've got my actual cash balances every month, and I've got a trued up look at cash. So I'm going to show you the difference just in numbers so you can see for this pretend business, what that would have been. The forecast would have been built, well, at the beginning in January, right? But as we move along with this customer, this is a gym. As we move along and work with this customer, we obviously help this gym owner make changes in their business every month based on what we see. But to start the year, because I just turned Live Forecast off. So to start the year, and let me make sure I'm in the right version. Yeah, so I'm in the working forecast version. Do you see that up here, the working forecast? LivePlan lets you build up to 10. So that's the other great thing to get to, great place in your work to get to, if you can, is to have a working forecast model versus even a beginning forecast. Best case, worst case, you can build all these different scenarios based on the type of work and relationship you have with your client, how deep that goes and how big your scope of work is. But I'm in the working forecast model. So, without Live Forecast on, I can see that in 2021, she's predicted to actually not be profitable. She was climbing out of the pandemic. It made sense. She had a lot of work to do to climb out of the pandemic. And she was predicted to actually lose cash in this year too, which obviously you can't do. So, but when I turn Live Forecast on, I get this trued up look, and I can see that based on what she's done now, she's actually climbing out. The work that I've done, that in our pretend advisory relationship, the work we've done with her has helped her pull out of that. I can see the update, and I can dig in now on months going forward about new changes she has to make. So the whole experience lives here in an iterative way, where I'm looking at profit and cash every month. I'm helping her find problems and opportunities. And then we're talking about her profitability now and in the long term, and her cash position, both now and way out in the long term. So she can make small decisions and big decisions, all of it here.
Kathy, I have a question from both Jim and Nancy.
Mhm.
They wanted to know if you could create a forecast by class in LivePlan. And I know that you can do different iterations, so you can do multiple forecasts, but they want to know, could you take those individual forecasts and then consolidate them into a single cash flow?
Yeah, those are two great questions. Those are two features that we get asked about a lot and we don't quite have yet. I will say, to answer the first one about class, we report by class over in the dashboard. So if this business, it doesn't, because we don't have class tracking turned on in QBO, but if this business did have classes, you would see in the dashboard views where we show all of the actuals in all kind of different ways, all the different charts and graphs. We recreate the statements here, and then we have an overview of the different metrics that you use. So in the dashboard, we report by class, and you'd see it right here. It would say by class. We don't yet have class forecasting built into our forecasting tab. It is on our roadmap for some time, but it's not built now. We recognize the need for it. It's just not built into the forecast yet. And then consolidation, I assume, is the question. Entity consolidation, is that the question, or what type of consolidation?
I think consolidation, the specific question was, can you consolidate, like create a forecast by class and then consolidate into a single cash flow forecast? So have them like roll them up, right? So that you're doing it by each class and then rolling it up into a main forecast for the whole company.
At this point, there is no concept of forecasting by class at all in LivePlan. So
Gotcha.
What we're doing in the forecast tab is facilitating the ability to build a P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow 10 times. So you can do that one time,
Yep.
and you can keep making those and have different scenarios. I can tell you that the forecasting experience is I don't want to say our sole focus, but it is our hyper focus for this year and for the foreseeable future. Live forecast was the beginning of things. We want to see how people interact with live forecast, where that goes. For us, it's about it's about bringing the ability to do iterative forecasting, to be able to always see profitability both now and in the future, and cash position now and in the future, and the other items that are on these statements. But practically speaking, when you're working with these clients every month, it's about profitability and cash.
Right.
Yeah. So with 10 minutes left, I'm going to just share with you a little about how you begin to do this work, or how you can think about learning to do this work, because it isn't rocket science, but you do have to learn some things if you don't know them already, and implement some type of system that helps you be scalable, right? Helps you do this in a way that is efficient for, even if it's just you and as a sole practitioner, even if it's just you have to have some efficiency so you can work for more than one client, right? So we've developed that here. And so the problems I know that you have to solve are, how do I do advisory, or how do I do forecasting advisory? What resources do I choose and how do I use them? And how do I be profitable and scalable in doing that? Those are the three things I know that you wrestle with. And if I go to any conference, if I read any trade show literature, if I sit in on workshops, I feel like these three things cover the bulk of how do I do this? What do I do? How do I move forward? And so we set about here to try to solve those questions for our customers. So because you have this mess of things, right? You have work being done, you have things everywhere, you have resources, you have people, you have customers. How do you bring that together? And the answer is that you really make this a system, and truly all of your services should be thought of as a system, but we're going to focus on strategic advising and forecasting here today. You make it a system, meaning that you have a business process that you follow, and then you, to support that process, put the resources in that you need in order to deliver that process. And then you do it. And then it's scalable. And the sum of those are your people, your software, and your items for deliverables. So you just think about what those things are. And so we've built that. And once you do that, now you have a product. You've productized your thing. And once you've productized your thing, it becomes so much easier to talk about, market, sell, all of the things, because now it's not, oh, I'm going to do work for you. I'm going to do really smart work for you. It isn't that. It's, I'm going to do forecasting advisory for you. Here it is. It looks like this. And it's your product that you're offering. If you can get to that, then you've really transformed the way you can both serve your clients and also be profitable yourself. So how do you do that? Well, we developed what we call the LivePlan method for strategic advising. And it is this idea of cyclical work. It's the idea that you're going to work with your clients in this iterative way to set goals with them at the beginning with some strategic planning, build a forecast, and then iterate on it every month. And we have built a business process for that, which this chart represents that. It's meant to kind of be a Gantt chart that shows work happening over time. But it's the idea that as you go from this just idea to, all right, well, how do we move one step in on that idea? Well, it's a process and it has phases and it's chunked out work. And each of the chunks take a certain amount of time. And so there's a kickoff phase, there's a planning phase, analyze phase, a forecast phase, and then this ongoing phase of advisory. And as you move deeper into that, each of these phases have a purpose. The kickoff is for framing your relationship. And the plan phase is for really understanding, it's getting at the business model. What do they sell? How do they sell it? To whom do they sell it? Who and what do they rely on to get that done? These are things you need to know to build that model. But then you're going to go and analyze. You're going to look at their past performance. What is their basis for growth that they want to grow? And then you're going to use that and you're going to build now the forecast, because now you've got the building blocks that you need to do that. And then you're going to be now in this cycle. That's all one-time work. That happens once. And then you're going to be in this cycle of advising every month. And so beyond that overview, we have built a very specific business process that I don't think I have a sample. I don't. But imagine, if you will, a business process where each of those phases have specific tasks. Some are 5 minutes, some are 10 minutes, some are an hour if they're a meeting, but it encompasses all of this work. The beginning work takes about 8 hours. The ongoing work we estimate at about 4 hours a month to produce this meeting. Well, prepare for the meeting, do the meeting, deliver the meeting, update the forecast. And then we teach you, we've also built the bundles. These are your products, that by doing this, you will produce this. And you can then offer these packages to your customers, and these are your products. And it's a value-based system that we built in conjunction with Mark Wickersham. So you can add or remove rows for the value, you can sell them these bundles. And then we see about these prices across the nation. These are US prices per month for these services. This is about what we're seeing broadly. The ranges are if you're including bookkeeping or not including bookkeeping in these bundles. And I know I'm coming up on time, so I'm gonna zing through to the end. These are samples of, for each step along the way, you're either working in LivePlan or you are having a meeting. And so we've developed meeting guides with scripting for all of the key meetings that you have to have. There are 3 key meetings in the process.
So, Kathy, is there a place that our audience can get that checklist? Is that something that they have available to them?
Yep. So there's 2 places they can get it. If they start a free trial with us, we will email it to you. We will email you the business process plus the meeting agendas and some other resources too. You can also get it. I'm going to hit escape. Well, can I get through 2 more slides and then I'll show you? There's a place on our website. You can put your email address and get the resources. I'm
doing the poll real quick because I feel like this is a great spot because we're right about.
Oh, okay.
About 3 minutes. So I'm going to send you this list of people and then you can show us. People are very, very, very excited about this. So
okay, great.
Very exciting. So I'm just going to leave this up for just a minute. We'll go back to your slides. And then I'll send you a list of the people that want more information from your team. And then if you want to show us where they can go to, does that work?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
I'll transition away from these slides and show you. I do want to say 2 other quick points. All of this stuff, sometimes you work with other apps that touch this type of work, right? You have workflow apps, you have proposals that you send out. So these apps that you see pictured here, shake hands with our system. You can go find the LivePlan method template right now in Carbon, Arrow, and Jetpack. It's living in their library. You can find the LivePlan method template in Practice Ignition. It's there as a sales proposal. And then we work with Mark for the sales brochure. So we work with these app partners because we recognize that it takes a village to do this. And then one last thing, I'm going to show you where to get started and find the resources if you need them. The other thing is, and I ran out of time, so I just want to tell you that 2 times a year we do a boot camp, because you can learn a ton from us online, but you learn even more live with people. And we got this request quite a bit, so we finally developed one. So this is our 3rd boot camp. It's the last week of June, and it's phenomenal. You're going to learn so much. We go super deep. We go way beyond what's in our online learning, and we build forecasts. We break forecasts. We host pretend advisory meetings. We look at business models. It's awesome. So if this kind of learning interests you, please come.
So I'm raising my hand because I'm not allowed to answer the poll as a panelist. So Kathy, I'm signed up, or I want to be. Because this is exactly what I think that we need. And I know you haven't been able to watch over and chat because there's been a lot happening, a lot of questions.
Good.
So the thing is that our firm's goal is to be offering LivePlan to every single one of our clients by the end of 2022. And so what our goal is, I know we're excited about it. So our goal is right now is to be doing training and do a few test clients. So that is where we want to begin. And so I'm glad that you took us over to the website. I'll be quiet because I know more than just myself is interested in the website and where to get started.
Yeah, you really do. I probably put too many slides in my little presentation. So I was going to encourage you to do a practice project. We have a 90-day free trial. We have that for a reason, because we want to give you the time to learn. There's a few ways to learn with us. First of all, when you sign up for a 90-day free trial, we will send you the business process in written form and the meeting agendas and scripting. We will just email that to you because we want you to get started right. If you want to go deeper, we have a big online learning program, a very robust online learning program that gives you even more. It gives you email templates to use with your clients, a whole host of things, capacity planning, resource allocation for your firm. Like, it really depends on the level of your firm, but it's all here. So you can sign up for online training here if you want to. You can also do the boot camp, which is in June. And then you can get those resources here. Oh, whoops, here. So training, access resources is a place where you can just put your email in and get these guides. It's right here. If you want to just cut to the chase and take a look at these guides and see how that goes for you. So it's on just go to liveplan.com. That's the easiest thing to remember.
And we're getting a question about the cost of the LivePlan boot camp, and I think I remembered it was under $1,000, and so to me that's well worth it. I don't remember the exact cost. I just remember going yes.
And it looks like and Kathy, it looks like on your website, if they follow you on Twitter, you could win a ticket. It looks like. So that's if you guys follow them.
Yeah, there's a drawing for 2 free tickets. And the other thing is early bird pricing ends on June 1st. So the price of boot camp, oops, I just went away from it, is $1,200, but right now it's $840. There's a discount on it. Here it is. It's $1,200, but there's early bird pricing until June 1st for $840. And what you get with that is our full online learning. So we're giving you all of our online learning products with bootcamp. We're giving you access to all of those and 15 CPE plus the hands-on learn. It really is worth it. I promise. It's
fantastic. I think that this was amazing. There's so much conversation happening, and so I would like to say, everybody who is interested, make sure that if you did not say yes to the poll, go ahead and put your email address inside the chat right now while we're still talking, because we're still live, and we'll gather those email addresses. Because even if it's just having a conversation, sometimes it's just you need to have the conversation and get it started. Because there's a lot of resources here. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to be able to say, do I want to start with boot camp? Do I want to start with these free resources? Do I want to start with on demand? There's a lot of different training here. And so I threw it over in chat that there is so much here and so many different ways to grow and learn that it kind of is what's your pace and what's the way that you learn. Kathy has really taken the time to think about the ways that people learn. And so there's a lot of options. So if you didn't answer the poll and you were interested in more information, I'd put your email address over there. Did I get it all?
Yeah, I was trying to share links to things, but I can't find the chat again. So if people want links to the camp page, or
I just shared the Twitter link. So if you want to click on that Twitter link, the rules for the Twitter giveaway are there, and you can you have to follow the rules. It's not just enough to follow. You have to do a couple other things too. So I'm going
to go ahead and say, if you stop sharing your screen, then you can probably see the chat. And then what I will do if you stop sharing is then I will share my screen.
I'm not sure I know how. I'm really sorry.
Oh, well, that's okay.
You want me to do it?
There it is. Stop share. There we go.
There you go. Okay, great.
So go ahead and start talking, Heather.
Oh no, go ahead. Were you going to share the rest of the slides?
I was. Should we just skip those two fun ones and just go straight to the end since we're already after?
Yeah, we'll do our coolest thing next time. How about that?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. So I have the slides up too if you want me to go ahead and share.
I've got it going and I'm at the right slide right now.
You are the best. You are the best.
Ta-da. Okay, so early bird pricing ends June 1st, and so make sure that if you said that you wanted more information, then you'll be able to find out more. But the early bird pricing, definitely take advantage of that because we are already in May. It's like, wow, where did it go?
Yeah.
So we want to also tell you all for joining us, thank you, and that we have more that we have to offer. So make sure that you check out our website, see what else is going on. If you want to check out our recordings, you can go on to our website and then follow the link over to YouTube. Yep. And so on YouTube, you're going to see everything that we have done. And so you can search all of the links and watch all of those webinars that are there also. And then Heather, do you want to share some information about a workshop you have?
Absolutely. So I am running, after a long hiatus, I'm running another Introduction to Zapier workshop. It starts on June 7th. It runs twice a week for 4 weeks. And we are offering a $50 off by using ZAP50 as the coupon code if you want to register. So I haven't done this since December, and it's a lot of fun. You'll learn. Vicki says she's already registered. Awesome. So we're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to learn a bunch of Zaps. You're going to learn how to use Zapier to automate your firm internal processes, but also it's a very, very lucrative service offering that you can offer to your clients. So you can save them a ton of time. So would love to have you in the workshop. And nice. Yeah, so yeah. And nice. I'll throw that coupon code in the chat too.
Fantastic. And then there's more to come. So we also have Carbon that will be joining us soon. And so if you were joining us last episode, you heard us talking about Liscio and Carbon's new partnership. So we're going to have Carbon on, and they're going to talk about their workflow, and they're going to talk about the documentation and standardizing. And then we're going to have AR Collect on, and then we're going to do a deep dive of AR Collect. So the deep dives are how to get started, how to use it, and then some tips and tricks. And then in July, we're going to have our ADP partnership model. So we're going to do a deep dive into ADP. So with that, I want to tell everybody thank you for joining us. And thank you to our sponsors. And thank you, Kathy, for being with us today.